So I'm going to discuss, as I show some pictures in a minute, different corset modeling I've done. I have enjoyed corsets for many, many years. And before I go into showing the corsetry modeling, I'm going to go over this particular point in time where it was during the first separation. And at that time, I was still involved as a satellite in regards to the Jade Wolf Coven. At the apartment complex off of USAA Boulevard, the females from the Jade Wolf Coven were in my apartment, and that would mean Jamie, also known as Dori, Christine, or the one I'm against, obviously. And then Sarah was the one who was supposed to supposedly replace what I could do. And then there was, Tina. I got along really well with Tina, and I got along really well with Jamie. Now, for a very brief amount of time, I mean, by technicalities, we were dating. We didn't actually go all the way in that regard, but had introduced me to the BDSM scene in San Antonio. Thomas Marsden online, he went by Raven Marsden, and I had met Master Charles, who had a lot of classes and demos, and instead, which it kind of messed with Master Charles a little bit, because when I came in to the class, I guess he was expecting, I don't know what he was expecting, but I know he was not expecting me. I know that for certainty. And so walked in, and I was introduced and went to the back patio where he had his wood shop and his shed and stuff like that. And it was in the in-between portion of the class. And he asked me a bunch of questions, and I told him about the head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. He was just like, "What did you just say?" And I was like, "Yeah, do. And so he had recommended that I read Screw the Roses, Give Me the Thorns by the Millers. And I read that. And then I had to essentially do homework. Mainly answering questions and stuff like that in comparison to actually undergoing certain things. But then we had a lot of lengthy discussions. And so he had recommended several other books, and we got along smashingly. Not in that way, because I will say at one event, and one event only, I had said, well, I do not trust Thomas to hit me at all. And I'm sure there are plenty who can understand that. And I was like, so I want to know certain things before I go through with certain things. And he asked me what I meant, and I said, well, I've read the differences in regards to the submissive aspect, the slave aspect, the masochist aspect, the bottom aspect, and that sort of stuff. And then I've obviously read as far as the top in comparison to the dominant, in comparison to the sadist, in comparison to the master, and so on and so forth. And he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, you did now, did you?" And I was like, yes, I did. And he was like, "Oh my God, okay." And so I look at him and I'm just like, so much taller than me. So I want to try the flogging thing, but I don't know if I'm all like that. But, I'm going to try it. He was like, okay, well, I'll go really, really soft, because we had already discussed my medical stuff. And he's like, okay, but, this is what and I'm like, yeah, I know what a St. Andrew's cross is. He's like, are you okay with this? And I'm like, not really. I deal with pain all the time. But so as I reevaluated, various aspects, it was one of those, well, I'm submissive in regards to being a mom, while at the same time of obviously being dominant in that regard. But, if my children need something you know, as far as my son and daughter, I will, you know, stop what I need to do and handle the situation and all that and take care of what they need. But in an adult sort of way, it's one of those, no, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know what I'm not going to do, but knowing that I'm a dominant, you know, and knowing that I'm a sadist, I also don't necessarily believe that I should be swinging something if I don't know how it feels, and I can't flog my back. So, and do that, and he was like, all right, you know, and so it took me a few before I'm like, all right, I'll put my hands on, and when I finally did, he struck, and I turned around and was like, don't you do, and he was like, hey now, hey, you said it was okay to do, don't get mad at me, and I'm like, I am not a submissive, and he's like, yeah, no doubt on that, no, please don't hurt me, and I was just, I'm gonna go out and smoke, and he's like, yeah, you go do that. Is whatever you have to do to calm down. Don't do that again. And he's like, hey, you said I'm not mad at you, because I did. I wanted to know, and I did. I know. I know I am not a masochist, and I know I am not a submissive in any other way except for making sure my children are taken care of, and the BDSM lifestyle is not for that. I understand, but because of the way I think. So I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna go smoke. And he's like, yeah, you go do that. I want to stay right here. You turned around really quickly. It's like, yeah, I did. And be glad I did. And he was just like, why? And I'm like, because I was ready to take that from you and use it on you. And then I saw it was you and I was like, okay, calm. And he's like, you're calm right now? I'm like, ish. I'm gonna go breathe outside and go have a cigarette because I'm mad. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. Well, out there, I get outside and I if I could have lit up 5 cigarettes at once to calm myself down from that, but instead I just, you know, lit one, inhaled, lit the next one with what was remaining of that one inhale, and then, you know, 5 times, and then by the 6th or 7th cigarette, I was like, okay. I'm not that bad. I mean, I'm mad, but I'm not that bad. It just hurt. Like, I deal with headaches and migraines. I don't need to deal with it. Nope, that clarified that 100%. No doubt about that at all. Well, Thomas comes outside and he was like, I saw that you playing with me. I don't really think you should call that playing. I would guesstimate that anybody that was within the earshot of that would go, no, she would not, she'd no. And he threw a little in a temper. You didn't get my, boy? What did you just say to me? You didn't get my permission. Oh, no, I don't need your permission, boy. And he just, well, there was a guy that had a whip. And I was like, out of my way, just no. So I go over to the guy who had the whip and I was like, can you show me how that works? And the guy was like, oh, well, you know, not on me. And right when I said that, Pastor Charles was walking out into the smoking section to essentially check on me. And he goes, yeah, don't use that whip on her. Do not do that. She will hurt you. And the guy was like, oh, okay, she's a dominant. He's like, yes, she is. Do not let her looks fool you. Do not let her looks fool you. She is not a submissive. She is not a slave. She is not anything but a dominant and probably sadistic. Ooh, she's going to turn into such a sadist. Hey, and how are you doing? I'm like, thank you for at least saying that to my face. And he's like, no, that's cool. I will not do anything behind your back. Cool. I guess you learned. He's like, you know, I've worked with horses before. Did you see something familiar? He was like, yes, I did. Oh my God. And I was just like, okay, well, you know, whatever. So the guys, because by that point there was, Master Charles and the other guy, they're slinging the whips, and I'm just like, all right, so what do so I just do this, and it's just in the wrist, and it's like, on the first time. Well, Titty Baby Thomas comes over and he's like, I can do that. And then he smacks himself in the head, which, okay, it happens. But, he just, I'm so mad that you can do it with just the first try and blah, blah, blah. You're not allowed to use that. Boy, you're going to try to tell me to do what? Psh. Psh. And at that point, Master Charles, when Titty Baby Thomas Marsden had said that, he just, Majo's like, yeah. Nope. No, I'm not. So, fast forward to when in my apartment, and it was very shortly after that particular event. So, in the apartment, I'm talking with Christine and Jamie and Tina. And I was like, yeah, I think I was kind of born in the wrong era. And they go, why? And I said, because I mean, minus the legal aspects, though the chivalry back then was far more, in certain regards, the way males were far more respectful of females. But the dress, and they were just, what do you mean? Well, if I could wear I like corsets. They look so pretty, so phenomenal. I got to wear one to a Renaissance fair, and it was just so, it didn't have any boning in it, but oof, I just, Well, then Titty Baby Thomas goes, no girlfriend of mine is going to wear a corset. I look at him like, that's not a problem. I can make that not be an issue for you whatsoever. Every one of those three females booked it out to the back patio, and we're like, no. There is a rage in her eyes. Ooh, nope, we ain't seen nothing. Jamie especially. And so, Titty Baby Thomas, no, you're not going to wear a corset, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. And if you know that, and that was during the first separation, so he had known what I had dealt with before and all that stuff, and during that time, and he was just like, well, then you don't have to worry about that. I don't have to be your girlfriend. And it's very, very, very simple. And so that night or the night after is when, the Last Samurai movie, and Titty Baby Thomas started crying because the guy, Tom Cruise, bowed to the emperor, and I was like, that's why you're crying? Okay. I mean, Tom Cruise is hot. And then Titty Baby Thomas got all pissy, and I'm like, but he is. He's hot. Like, I mean, I can look at any individual and be like, I can look at plenty of people, not necessarily have the ability to, but no doubt about, like, I'll tag. And Titty Baby Thomas just threw a Titty Baby temper tantrum. I was like, so, like 2 days later, it was over. I was like, I don't ever want to see you again. And then he tried to get me to let him live in my apartment because he did something that upset his grandfather. And it was his grandfather's house who he was living in. And I was like, I don't think so. So then, you're not my friend. You're right. Absolutely. I'm not your friend, Thomas. No, go away. Leave me alone. I'm not interested in any way, shape, or form. Because what was the final breaking point was the fact that he decided my children were in my apartment because I picked them up from Earth Montessori School. Titty Baby Thomas decided he wanted to yell at my children when they were crying, and it was, and he gone. It was over completely. There was no hesitation on that, and it took so much to keep myself under control for that, because well, those who are parents understand. I don't have to go into full detail on that. I will say that I did tell him that if he ever opened his mouth or came at my children the way he did back then, I would go gardening. And he did not understand what I meant with that. And I was like, I promise I will go gardening if you ever. So you better not. You don't want me to find. No, I will go gardening. I like to garden. He did not understand that reference. But anyway, he was the one that, didn't graduate ROTC and got kicked out of Air Force ROTC. Not Army ROTC, but, and no offense towards the Air Force, but Air Force ROTC, because he attempted to commit suicide so many times, and it was just one of those, I don't have patience for certain things, excuse me. And so it was one of those not going to tolerate certain things, and it would be very, very, very bad for Thomas Marsden if I were to ever find out. It would be a very good idea for law enforcement to farm my mail on our project. That would be very bad. That would be very, very. I like gardening. I'm just gonna keep saying I like gardening. We'll leave it at that. I like gardening so much. It's been a while since I've been able to actually garden but I have said before, I usually prefer using chemicals in certain regards when it comes to gardening. But there are some times when organic works, and I admit I did not put the specifics when it comes to organic gardening that I have not gotten to technically test. I'm just gonna leave that as an open-ended thing. Though as much and many opportunities I have technically had, I have not gotten to do much in the organic gardening way beyond using, mouthwash for certain things and cigarette ash. Other than that, the other type of organic gardening, well, I'm just going to go to the pictures of my corsetry instead of continuing on with that particular discussion, because I don't want to get in trouble. But I like to garden, and I'll leave it at that. So, going to the, and of course I'll give some commentary as I go through the different aspects. So this is a picture of so this was when I was the poster girl for Temple of Flesh. And that is called a drill dough, and it's a drill that has the attachment of that I got to use as a weapon in that particular irony of ironies, that particular show performance. And so that was the other side of the poster that was made. And this corset was actually made by Sam Lewis, made by Sam. I had told him about the event and that sort of stuff, and so he had made the corset for me in the colors that I wanted. And that is the corset outfit I wore, probably including the necklace, and yes, look, I had normal hair at one point in time. See, I even look, but that's makeup. But yes, I can look, that's what I used to look like with hair, not that hair, but that's what I looked like, before I started cutting my hair. And it got shorter and shorter and shorter. That's the outfit that I wore to the Renaissance Fair in Bastrop. This particular outfit, including these wings, until I got a new set from there, where a bunch of trolls or whatever jumped out of the trees to jump. And so that's a, pinstripe corset. You can see the progression of my tattoos. There's my Methuselah tattoo with the eyes right there, and then the different ones, including up to the more recent ones. And there's a different corset with a different background. And then Gerald Go was actually really cool to work with. He had access to a granite facility, and so wore that outfit there, and that's with Sam Lewis. Then that one, I think this was out in what was his name? Sandy and San Angelo. I really tried to go out to meet with him again, and I contacted him via email, but I wasn't able to go forward with that. But then another Gerald Go photography aspect, despite not being, you can't see the corset, but I'm wearing one. Sam Lewis took that picture of me as Harley Quinn. My shinies, I like shinies, I do. And so, I am a proponent for the Second Amendment right, though that is not a real one in the picture. And, that's kind of comparable to one of my scuba knives. I had a whole bunch of scuba knives, but Recon was my favorite one. My favorite. That was during the event for where I was a poster girl. And the female who was assigned to me was the one who laced up my corset. And I told her there was a problem with it, but instead, it was put on upside down. But the show had to go on, so did it. And that guy was really nice. He was the toy master, and it was, I think it was called Pervs in Toyland. See, I like corsets. That was the event where I was performing. That was the outfit. I was in trouble because I didn't know I was supposed to wear the corset, either one that was for the show, until afterwards. So, but yeah, and then behind is my ex Patrick Kennedy in that outfit. He was upset. I'll go in. So that's as you see, Black Rose Photography. That was in Austin. That was at Strokers in Dallas, a motorcycle club. And some of the photographers were like, "Are you really willing to climb on top of tires in front of, in a corset?" And I was like, realistically, I hadn't gone to Dallas yet, but if that Casey Romansky guy hadn't seen that beforehand, he probably wouldn't have been so nervous about the Constantine wire. There's a picture. And that was at the Sin fashion show in Dallas, and this corset and skirt are from Leather Masters as well as the Whip. I will pause real quick. Oh, hold on. And there's a performance at the whatchamacallit, the Pervs in Toyland. So real quick, I'm gonna go back to this one and discuss that real quick. So at Leather Masters, each of the models were able to pick out what outfit they were going to wear. And the male who was running the shop when I went in, he was like, "Oh, well, what do you want to wear?" And I was like, "Oh, do corsets. I like corsets." I'm a fan of corsets. And so that was the one that wound up being in my size, because there were a few others and some of them had already been picked and all that sort of stuff. But then for the accessories, he was like, "Oh, you could put, here's a leather cover." I was like, "Yeah, but I didn't earn one." And he goes, "Yeah, but it's just for the fashion shoot." And I was like, "Yeah, but you earn a leather cover. And I know it's a fashion shoot, and I hope you understand. I don't want to be disrespectful to that aspect." And he was, what do you mean? And I was like, because you earn a leather cover, and I don't want people thinking that you can, I mean, yes, obviously, you know, the ability to go out and purchase one, yes, I get that. And while, yes, you know, I understand that I've worn certain outfits as far as like variations of military outfits, but they are extremely distinct to not be exact in that regard. And so in leather, and again, the store is called Leather Masters, to purchase a cover, it would be promoting purchasing a cover instead of what it takes to earn a cover. And I know that that is part of the purpose of the store, to go out and purchase the cover so that way you can have something more authentic and so on and so forth. But I kind of feel like it would be an issue for all of the guys who have earned leather covers to have that sort of thing. And it's not to be disrespectful to the store. I really hope that you and the others here are not offended. But I really don't want to have that as a big thing, so that way it's misunderstood. And he just kind of, oh my God, okay, so no, that's fine. Don't you worry, you don't have to wear that. And then he was like, so do you want to wear this collar? And I'm like, no, don't make that mistake. Please don't make that mistake. I'm not going to wear a collar. No, I'll wear a necklace. But that is not a collar. I mean, I know there are people who use necklaces as collars. I am not one of those. I do like necklaces, but I do not like collars. I am not one to be collared. The closest thing you could say of a collaring is if I'm getting married, and that is not the exact same, though there are certain similarities. And no, like I'm not trying to be disrespectful on that one, but no. And the guy was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I'm not a submissive. He was like, oh, and I'm like, yeah. Not a submissive at all. No. And he was like, wow, you know so much about the leather cover thing. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for that. But it's not, I'm not a submissive. And he's like, oh, okay, that makes so much sense now. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Not gonna wear collar. No. Again, the closest collar is if I get engaged and married and all that, and that is the closest thing to collar, and that is still not the exact same, obviously. And so we laughed about that quite a bit, and that was the end of that. But yeah, so going back to that sort of stuff. But yeah, no. All in respect for the various ones, because those who have been in the leather scene for a very long time very much understand that sort of thing. So, going back to that, okay, so that was Leather Masters, okay, and then that was Pervs in Toyland, where my character was the ballerina that everybody wanted in sort of, but like the most special something another, and I was the last one to be revealed and stuff like that. That was with Paco Romero, and yes, I'm wearing a corset, and yes, I can dance in that. I've done far other, I like to dance, and I like corsets, so, you know, it's only natural to be able to dance in a corset if you like corsets. And so that one was done by Made by Sam, the picture made by Sam, and he did that and with the Photoshop stuff. And so I do not remember the name of the photographer for this one, but this was in a park area, and I think it was in the Dallas area for that. And then that was, I think that was in Dallas or Austin for this particular set of pictures. Yeah, I think it was Austin, actually, closer to Cedar Park. And so so that was Art Cantu as the photographer, and then me in another corset. I like corsets, obviously. And so, and for this one, Trinity had done the makeup. I did my own makeup there. And so there's that. And then this is Joseph Lopez photography out in San Marcos. His wife was very nice. Then there's Casey Romansky doing the photography. This is me, obviously, but Casey Romansky did the photography. And that's Joseph Lopez, who had done the photography for that. And so, and he and his wife and I spoke well before the pictures or the photography was done. That was a park in Austin, again, San Angelo area. And that's Art Cantu photography, the Austin Art and Glamour photography. Jago. Can you tell I like corsets? I have a few, and I like to wear them. And you can see that it bends with my, that's what they're supposed to do, but yes. This is Joseph Lopez photography in my outfit, or me and stuff. He had played with the different, whatchamacallit, contrasting. That one technically shouldn't be in there, though I was wearing a corset underneath. That is Jay Shirt's photography, who took the picture. That was in Austin or Dallas. That is made by Sam Photography. That's me, of course. And that is not a corset, that's just a dress. That's just, I was wearing a corset, that one. That it's technically a corset, but it was from Black and White Market House. That was at an event at Matrice Renee's and Jason's house in Fort Worth, and this was taken by Duct Tape Dave, but my corset and those shoes, I had so much fun with it. I have no idea what happened to them. And then corset, not that one, photography made by Sam. Photography made by Sam, although I don't know where that came from. I guess I don't think that's photoshopped actually, but it is what it is. And that was a photography shoot at Dallas Strokers Motorcycle Club, and again a corset, surprise, no. This was me, obviously still me, but Joe Lopez photography. That is at Strokers Dallas Motorcycle Club, as well as the airport photography. There were multiple photographers there. So there's that one of me. That one is a picture of me that Made by Sam did. That is photography from Joseph Lopez. Joseph Lopez, this is still me. Obviously, all these pictures are of me, but I'm giving the names of the photographers who had done as best as I can remember. And that's at the Motorcycle Club in Dallas. And so, and you can see, obviously, I can bend, and that hasn't changed. I can still bend. I can actually bend in other ways in the corsets that I could do back then, but never actually did. So that photography was Lenny Extreme Photographer, if I'm not mistaken, was his name for his photography stuff. That's, again, at the Dallas Motorcycle Club. Sam Lewis, he did the makeup, and he said that this particular makeup aspect was the inspiration for the Fool's World. And he made that corset, and he had the shirt and stuff like that. And then I really do, I have a feeling that this particular picture is probably exactly how I looked when I landed at the bottom of the ocean and was looking for the scuba diver buddy that I was assigned to at the Vandenberg before I went and swam around. But yeah, that's probably with, you know, needing the white fins to like just tap, 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 tap. Or technically tap, 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 tap. Because, you know, white fingernail. Tap, 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 tap. I'm sarcastic, that's fine. So another corset, you can see I'm bending the corset with my back and able to do that. And there, that, you know, though it's black and white Photoshop, you can see that I am actually ankling myself in the corset. And so, yeah, there's another one. I tend to like, can you see that I like corsets just a lot? And again, at the motorcycle club in Dallas. And so then there's Gerald Go photographer doing the picture of me in the outfit that I was wearing. And I did my own makeup. That's Sam Lewis photography. And Gerald Go photography, and that's Art Cantu photography, and that's Jay Shirts photography of me, and then Austin Art and Glamour photography. That's Sandy out in San Angelo, Texas, and then Sam Lewis photography, or made by Sam. Joseph Lopez photography, or yeah, Joe Lopez photography. Really liked this corset, and I like corsets a lot. And so, and then Sam Lewis did the makeup, and that was a corset made out of PVC, and that's a corset Sam made. That's the Leather Master corset. And see what I mean? Like, I inhaled and that ripped. And Leather Masters has good stuff. But yes, I literally inhaled and it did that. And so that's at the Leather Master Sin Show where I'm walking on the runway. Different. And that was in Austin. The female made tutus, and I was like, oh, I got a bunch of corsets. I know that I can have work and do that sort of stuff. And it was at her friend's farm. And so there's that corset. Dionysian Concepts, Art Cantu photography. Dionysian Concepts, I'm wearing a corset in the picture. Art Cantu photography. You can see this is in a park out in that area. I think it's Austin. Although I think it's Austin area. I'm fairly certain it's Austin. It could be Dallas or it could be San Antonio, but I really think that it's Austin. Although maybe somebody can look at the reflection in the motorcycle and know. So then there's the corset, and I owned all of the corsets with the exception of the one with the clown makeup for the Fool's World inspiration. Like, all of these corsets I owned at the time. So, like, I owned that corset. My purchase history would state and prove that I owned. You could see I bent that easily. Very, very easily. I mean, if I can, again, break spiral steel bone, here's the example. You know, that was a 10 millimeter busk that I broke back when I was doing the Sin Leather Master shoot. That's a 10 millimeter thickness in the busk that I had just inhaled and broke. So then, you know, there's another corset. Now you can understand why I know what type of corsets. I have had a couple, just a few. I really, really like corsets. As you can see, that one is by the same female. I found her on eBay, and she made the blue corset Renaissance outfit one.
and I got one in red. Yeah, it just doesn't have any boning in it. But it still looks great, and it was fun to wear. So like that, Sam made that corset, but also the other red corset that I owned. That was my corset, my corset, my corset. So Art Cantu photography, nonetheless. Going back to that, Casey Romansky photography, the Black Rose photography in that Austin area. So this is the corset I'm talking about that Sam made, but the makeup in regards to the Fool's World. That's a Leather Masters corset, Leather Master skirt, as I said. And Duct Tape Dave was like, "Are you really tying up your own corset?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, because he didn't know that I could do that. And he was like, "Can I take a picture of you doing that?" It's like, "Yeah, that's fine." So because the bathroom was a little bit difficult for me to finish getting ready for the house party and wanting to be respectful to the neighborhood and not showing up in the outfit I was going to wear, because this particular tutu is fairly short. So I wanted to be respectful to the neighbors. Obviously the people who ran the event, but so Duct Tape Dave got the picture of me tying up my own corset, and you can see my white tattoo right there. And these are the only back tattoos I have, with the exception technically of the ones that I had burned into my flesh when I sat too close to the heater. But by technicalities, that's not a tattoo. That was just, getting the honeycomb pattern into my skin because I was cold and I was doing what I could. Gerald Go photography. And again, yes, I had all these corsets. Art Camp 2 photography. Casey Romansky photography. This was at the Sin Fashion Show, as you can see the title. And so these were the different models, and I wore that. And that's Sam Lewis's, and it technically is a corset, but I also was wearing a corset at the time. So, and then Joe Lopez photography, Duct Tape Dave photography, Gerald Go photography, Sam Lewis, made by Sam. Black Rose photography, that's Austin. Oh, it's kind of funny. There's the electrical tower. There's an example. So then that's Glamour Shots photography. That is at the event. You can see that the corset was put on upside down by the female Shauna, who was assigned to me to put on my corset. But I only had so much amount of time to get the ability to go do that, so there's that. That's the Wizard of Oz shoot in corsetry in Deep Ellum. There's a video in reference to all that, so to do that. And I wouldn't be able to pick out Shauna, but I'm sure that there are people from the San Antonio scene that would be able to. That's Art's wife, so Trinity, who had done the makeup for Art Cantu photography. And she had done the makeup for all of this. Trinity had done all of the makeup for the Wizard of Oz shoot. So then there's that. Went through that. Is that it? I guess that is it. So those are, just a few corsets, gonna open just a few corsets. I mean, I've had more. There are plenty of corsets that I've had that I never wore in photography aspect and just wore to events. So these are the different ones that I have modeled. So real quick, I will go through the exotic Easter because of that, because there's not that many images. So this was the one, well, once it opens up. So that was the event, and I did not know that my tattoos were going to be photoshopped off and of the for the poster until afterwards. The techie guy who had done that wound up actually telling me that he did that, and I was like, oh, I didn't even notice. And he's like, did you not look at it? I was like, no, I looked at it. I just, that's probably a cognitive issue right there to not, recognize it. But yeah, so there's that. And then that was the Jack in the Crack or Jack in the Box individual. That right there was the character Douche. And that is the Toy Master. And then there's me, and you can see how it's up. But good thing I always wear pasties. And so that was the female who played Barbie. And walking forward, that's me, and that's the Toy Master. That was the guy who actually called me up on the stage the night I was picked out for the dancing aspect at the first Temple of Flesh fetish uniform ball event that I went to. Not the first one, period, but the first one I'd gone to. And so there's Bitch, there's Douche. That's the character names, by the way. Bitch, Douche. That was the one who played the Jack in the Box. That's the Toy Master. That's me as I don't remember whether it was the Wanted Ballerina, or something, but I was the last one unveiled. And there's Steve. There's the female who played the Barbie. And those are two of the females who played Russian toy soldiers. I think there was a third one, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yep, there's a third one. And so, the Russian toy soldiers, Toy Master, me as that one, and then the Barbie, and then the Jack in the Box. So there's all that, and that's the final credit picture where everybody's like, okay, and the Toy Master was like, and Lady Dori Belle right there. And so, yeah. So, I kind of like corsets. I might not have been able to get all of I tried to do the organizing thing as best as I could, but I've done a few modeling stuff. So, anyway, I will be completing a few others in a little bit. Have a good one. Oh, and do that like, share, subscribe stuff.